So, as Chloe touched on, and bullying can be a major cause of unhappiness. But you, as parents and carers, have a vital role to play in supporting any child who may be at risk of being bullied or who is the bully. So, parents and carers can help identify and monitor these instances of bullying behaviour, but you can also be called upon to reinforce or reassert those anti bullying strategies with your child at home. So bullying really can be broken down into four general areas. We've got that verbal abuse. So this includes things like name calling, saying hurtful things, spreading rumours, or nastily laughing at a person who is being bullied. We've got physical abuse. So this would include any kind of physical violence, such as punching, hitting, kicking, hair pulling, spitting, or any kind of non-consensual sexual touch. Emotional abuse. So this type of bullying is kind of that more of the mind games type of abuse. So making the person who is being picked on feel uncertain as to where they stand. Maybe being overly friendly one day and then being totally ignored the next day. And total exclusion from a friendship group would also fall under this category. And then we've got online abuse. Definitely a type of bullying that's more on the rise, more than it ever was now, due to how easily accessible it is. And we are going to come back to this one a little bit more later on. So how will you know if your child is being bullied? So bullies can make children feel isolated and afraid of the repercussions if they speak out or seek help. And it can be really difficult for you to know if your child's being bullied if they don't actually come out and tell you, which they rarely do. But there are some signs that you can look out for. So things like a change in your child's normal behaviour. Are they becoming much louder or much quieter than they used to be? Do they appear scared now to go to school or to take part in some of their usual clubs or activities? They may present with several unexplained illnesses, like having lots and lots of tummy aches or headaches, resulting in them either not wanting to go to school or not wanting to go to sleep at night. And this also then in turn may lead to significantly disturbed sleep. If you see them when they're online or on their phone, do they appear to be more anxious and upset than usual? Or do they totally not want to use their devices at all, which isn't like them? Their school performance may suddenly become very poor, potentially due to them not being able to focus fully on their schoolwork. And you may see some more noticeable changes in their emotions, such as them seeming anxious or lacking in self-confidence and self-esteem. Do remember that a lot of those things that I've just listed will be quite regular behaviour for your children at times. And this is when it's really important to know your child really well so that you see the differences in their behaviour. So if your children haven't told you that you're being bullied, but you recognise some of the signs that you've just seen or that we've talked about, you're going to need to try and open that conversation with them. So think about doing this in a neutral environment, such as the car or the kitchen while you're cooking dinner. Something so that the whole focus isn't you just sat there looking at them, questioning them. So you could start by telling them that you've noticed that they're not themselves recently, or you've noticed that they're not very happy when they come out of school. Just remind them that you're always there to talk to them, and talking can help them to feel better. They might not tell you the first time you start these conversations, but planting that seed in their head is really likely to help them to open up to you about the bullying or any other stresses later down the line. So when you get to the point that your child has told you that they're being bullied, where do you go from here? So firstly, the most important thing to remember is that children who are bullied will feel that they are lacking in power and control. Remember, this has been taken away from them by the bullies. So try not to go into this conversation by telling them what you think they should do, because this will continue to leave them feeling that they have no power. Try and give this power back to your child by asking them what they would like to happen or what they want you to do. If this is the first time that they're speaking about it, be prepared for them to tell you and then tell you that they don't want you to do anything, because acting can feel really daunting to them. It's a huge step. but be reassured that their decision on this may change once they remember and realise that they can trust you. Never do anything without their consent unless you are really concerned about their safety. So a few top tips really is one is to don't swoop in immediately and take over. Really tempting, isn't it, as a parent or a carer? Your initial instinct is to make everything better. So you are going to feel angry and anxious and want to rush in and fix everything, but this isn't going to help them in the long run. If you do this, again, they're going to feel powerless, not only from the bully, but also from you, because they can see that you're worried, that you're falling apart. So it's really important to calm down and breathe so that you can listen and plan together. Ask, how can I be most helpful to you? Don't forget to plan with your child, not for them. And this is where that life lesson will come in, because this will enable them to learn how to deal with these kinds of situations in the future. So don't minimize. So keep in mind that while you don't want to overreact, you actually don't want to underreact either. So don't minimize the problem. Don't be telling your child, oh, you're too sensitive. You're too sensitive. You're making a mountain out of a molehill here. This is not a time to leave your child to plan the next move alone. They need somebody more powerful than the bullies to advocate for and help them handle the situation. And that person will probably be you. Again, try not to blame them for what's happening. It's very easy, isn't it, to say things like, well, what are you doing to make those kids pick on you? You must be doing something wrong. Or what did you say to make her say that to you? There is often no reason for somebody to be picked on other than they're in the line of sight with from a child who wants to taunt or hurt them. There is usually no justification for bullying, and blaming your child and questioning them will only make them shut down or worse, blame themselves for what's happening. Instead, let them know that it's not them. Anyone can be a target. Remind them that sometimes it's just a case of being in the wrong place, wrong time, or that any kind of difference or vulnerability can be an open door to somebody who's going to be a bully. And then the backbone of all our sessions here are about having open conversations with your child. Talk about your own experiences. Really empathise with them and their situation by being authentic with them. It's okay to say to them, oh, I feel so sad when I hear what's happening, or I'm here to help you. Do your best to have the kind of relationship where you keep those lines of communication open. Encourage them to talk to other adults in their lives as well who they might be close to. Sometimes an aunt, a friend, or a teacher is easier to talk to than you are at times. Those adults can also give advice and say things that you might not be able to say because you're too close to the problem. You can also help your child by giving them some practical problem-solving techniques, having those conversations around bullying and coming up with strategies together. So we've just got a few that you might suggest to your child. So try and help them not to react out of fear. So often our children feel shocked and paralysed when someone calls them a cruel name or hurts them. If they stand there and take it, or they get upset and lose control, or start crying, the bullies will have what they want. They'll have that reaction. So let your young person know that reacting out of fear or anger may possibly set them up for more of the same. It's just going to fuel that fire. The simplest way to change the dynamic is to make the bully feel uncomfortable for their own behaviour. All of us should be advising our children to avoid hitting or fighting back verbally or physically, because this is only going to cause the bullying to escalate. Help your child maybe to say something that's short, simple and neutral, but doesn't necessarily egg the other person on more, and then leave. So a simple phrase like stop or not funny or I've had enough can be very effective when they're being bullied. Encourage them to find something though that feels natural and right to them. You can role play this at home, get them to practice so it feels more natural. They don't need to insult the other person back or get reactive to this in any way. And above all, they don't want to get into a physical fight with anyone because that's just going to feed this. Just saying those simple phrases and then walking away, so not engaging with the person who's bullying them, is one of the best ways to diffuse a situation. Really difficult, but that role playing at home can really help with this messaging. And ignoring the bully, as hard as it is for your children in this situation, tell them to try and ignore the bullying, either by pretending that they don't hear it or by keeping a straight face and not reacting. It's often very effective for children to act as if they are uninterested in the insults and to simply refrain from responding them. It really works. Again, try and practice this at home, role playing the situation and help them practice not showing that anger or fear. And remind your child that there is strength in numbers. When your child is with a friend, it makes it much harder to be isolated or targeted by bullies. You can't make those friendships for your children, but you can encourage them. Offer lifts, invite people round. You can really try and make that a bit easier for them to have a buddy. But sometimes things will escalate to a point where you do need to step in and take more official action. Always tell your child what you're going to do to help and work with them so that this situation doesn't become worse. Remind him or her that it is their right to feel safe, especially at school. Decide on the best way to do this together without overreacting or jumping in too quickly. Listen to your young person carefully. Hear the whole story. Ask them how they see it. Reflect back to them so that you fully understand. And ask them what they would like you to do. They might not know, but it's much better to figure this out together. Again, need to keep saying this. Young people need to know that there is somebody more powerful than that bully on their side. So listen to what they're saying, try and get the details from them, try and find out who is doing the bullying, bearing in mind it may be more than one person. Get a good picture of what this bullying looks like. For example, what the people are doing, what they are saying, and how often this is happening. Once you've got these initial details, continue to make a log or a diary of when the bullying happens and what happens. If your young person doesn't want to tell you every time, encourage them to make a log. It's that journaling that Chloe was talking about. Sometimes just writing something down can be really helpful. It doesn't have to be in depth. We don't want to make our young person continue to relive what they're going through, but even basic details on a notes app on their phone can really help. And also remember that although it's important to get the details of what's going on, your child is also just going to want that love and support from you. So actively listen to what they're saying, how they are feeling. Try and talk somewhere quiet when you can give them your full attention at this point. And you can lead by asking simple questions, so what happened next and what happened after that. So if this happens in school and your child decides that they would like school to know, remember again that they need to have some control here. So ask them, how do you want me to tell school? What do you want what do you want me to tell them? Do they want you to share that information or are they happy to? Maybe they want to share this information but want you there for support. So at this point, you would be contacting the school to set up these meetings. And a good person to talk to at school would be whoever they have that good relationship with. It might be a particular teacher, it might be their head of year, or it might be someone from the pastoral team. And if you do get to the point where you have a meeting at school with a member of the staff, agree beforehand what your young person wants to disclose to the school. It might be easier if they tell you if there's something they don't want discussed at this stage. But try and remind your young person that if they can be as open and as honest as possible about what's gone on for them, it's more likely that they'll receive the best support and help that they can get. And within that meeting at school, make sure that there are some set actions for what will happen next. Schools do take bullying seriously. Your child's teacher will be trained in spotting and handling bullying. And once you've shared it with them, they can work with you to prevent this escalating. And then finally, if you hear from a teacher or another parent that your child is being the bully, the steps you take are almost exactly the same. The first thing you could do is talk to your child about the situation, be direct about the issue, but also make it clear that you are open to hearing your child's side of this story. You could start by saying something along the lines of, I got a call from school today and the teacher thought that you were involved in some bullying. I'm really concerned about this. Tell me what happened. Talking it through calmly and listening very carefully again can make you understand why the behaviour is happening and what steps need to be taken to stop it. Bullying is really scary for our children, but you can play a pivotal role in helping them to understand.